Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a simple truth. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. If you want more out of life, more wealth, more opportunities, more happiness, you don't chase after these things. You grow yourself into the kind of individual who naturally draws them in. Think about it. Every outcome in your life today is a direct reflection of the person you are right now. Your habits, your mindset, your daily choices. If you want better results tomorrow, you must become better today. It all starts inside. Success is not an accident, and it's not a matter of luck. It is the inevitable consequence of consistent self-development and self-discipline. The most successful people in every field understand this. They invest more time in learning, in building skills, in mastering their attitude than anyone else. They discipline themselves to do the things average people don't feel like doing. That's the difference. When others are distracted, they're focused. When others give excuses, they take responsibility. When others wait for the perfect moment, they create it. Here's the key. You attract success by raising your standards. If you expect more from yourself, more effort, more persistence, more courage, you will naturally elevate your life. People are drawn to confidence, integrity, and energy. Opportunities flow to those who demonstrate competence and commitment. It's not about wishing for success. It's about preparing for it, so thoroughly, so intentionally, that success has no choice but to show up. Ask yourself, what kind of person would I have to become to achieve all the goals I dream about? Then start living as that person right now. If you want financial independence, become disciplined with money today. If you want leadership, become someone who listens, inspires, and leads by example today. If you want health and vitality, make the choices of a healthy person today. Success doesn't come later, it's attracted in every decision you make right now. And let me remind you, growth is never convenient. It is uncomfortable, it requires sacrifice, and it demands consistency. But that is the price. Pay the price willingly, and you'll discover that life will reward you far beyond what you once imagined. Every day, you are either moving closer to the person who attracts success or drifting further away. That choice is yours. Begin today. Discipline yourself, build your character, sharpen your skills, and align your actions with your highest vision. Do this long enough, and you won't need to chase success, because success will be chasing you. Success is not something you chase, it is something you attract. This simple but profound truth has changed the lives of countless high achievers. Most people believe that success is about running harder, working longer hours, or desperately trying to grab opportunities before someone else does. They imagine it as a finish line to reach, a prize to catch, a chase that never ends. But the reality is very different. The secret lies in understanding that success is drawn to you in direct proportion to the kind of person you become. When you grow, develop, and refine yourself, you stop running after success, and instead, success begins to run after you. Think about it for a moment. Everywhere you look, you see people who seem to be constantly busy, always rushing, yet never really getting ahead. They are chasing, but the prize seems to slip further and further away. Then you look at others who seem to attract opportunities, wealth, recognition, and growth almost effortlessly. The difference is not in luck, intelligence, or background. The difference is in personal development. People who attract success have invested time and energy into becoming individuals of value, individuals whose very presence radiates competence, confidence, and clarity. Success is like a magnet. A magnet does not run around chasing nails. It simply becomes strong enough that nails are pulled toward it. Similarly, when you strengthen your character, your skills, and your mindset, opportunities naturally gravitate toward you. Employers notice. Clients notice. Partners notice. The world notices. You don't need to beg for recognition or scramble for scraps. You need to become magnetic, and that magnetism comes from growth, discipline, and relentless self-improvement. The real question to ask yourself is not, how can I get success? But rather, how can I become the kind of person who naturally attracts the level of success I desire? If you want to attract wealth, become the kind of individual who manages money wisely, who delivers more value than expected, who constantly learns and innovates. If you want to attract influence, become someone who communicates clearly, inspires others, and leads with integrity. If you want to attract happiness and fulfillment, cultivate gratitude, kindness, and a strong sense of purpose. Success is not about running toward a goal. It is about becoming the type of person for whom that goal is inevitable. This principle explains why success is never permanent and failure is never final. If you suddenly achieve success without becoming the kind of person who can sustain it, you will lose it just as quickly. This is why lottery winners often end up broke within a few years. They had money, but had not yet developed the character, mindset, and habits to manage it. On the other hand, someone who builds themselves into a disciplined, focused, and value-driven individual will attract success again and again, regardless of setbacks. Because no matter what happens externally, they carry the source of success within themselves. Every great leader, entrepreneur, and achiever you admire has followed this principle. They didn't wait for luck or chance. They became skilled, determined, and purposeful until opportunities sought them out. They transformed themselves into magnets of success. That is why their rise seems inevitable. It is the natural consequence of who they became. So, the first and most important step is not to chase success, but to attract it by becoming worthy of it. The world rewards those who invest in themselves, who grow beyond their limitations, and who create more value than they consume. The more you develop your inner world, your thoughts, your habits, your character, the more your outer world begins to shift in your favor. That is the timeless law. Success is not pursued, success is attracted. Raise your standards, and your life will rise to meet them. This is one of the most powerful principles of success, yet one of the most often overlooked. Every person has standards, whether they realize it or not. Your standards are the invisible rules you set for yourself about what you will and will not accept in your life. They shape your choices, your actions, and ultimately your destiny. If your standards are low, you will tolerate mediocrity, excuses, and average results. If your standards are high, you demand more from yourself. More focus, more effort, more discipline, and you create a life that reflects excellence. Success does not come from what you want. It comes from what you are willing to demand of yourself every single day. Think about the difference between people who live extraordinary lives and those who settle for less. The gap is not luck, it is not talent, and it is not chance. It is standards. People who achieve greatness set the bar higher for themselves. They expect more from their work, their relationships, their health, and their contribution to the world. Where others cut corners, they go the extra mile. Where others accept excuses, they hold themselves accountable. Their standards do not allow them to settle for average, and as a result, their lives are anything but average. Your standards determine your habits, and your habits determine your future. If your standard is to exercise only when you feel like it, you will rarely build true health and fitness. If your standard is to study and grow only when it's convenient, you will never develop mastery. But if your standard is to push yourself every day, regardless of mood or circumstance, then your actions will consistently lead to growth. It is not what you occasionally do that matters. It is what your standards force you to do repeatedly until it becomes second nature. Raising your standards is not about arrogance or comparing yourself to others. It is about refusing to settle for less than your best. It is about saying, this is the level I choose to live at, and nothing below this line is acceptable. That decision transforms the way you think and act. Suddenly, procrastination is no longer acceptable. Negative self-talk is no longer acceptable. Poor effort is no longer acceptable. You create a new identity based on excellence, and that identity begins to drive every aspect of your life. When you look at the most successful people in history, you see a pattern of uncompromising standards. They refused to accept mediocrity. They demanded brilliance from themselves when no one else was watching. They set goals that others thought were too high, and then they aligned their standards to match those goals. Because of this, they were able to achieve what seemed impossible. The truth is, every time you raise your standards, you create a new normal. What once felt difficult becomes your baseline, and from there, you can rise even higher. The beauty of raising standards is that it gives you control over your destiny. You cannot always control circumstances, but you can always control what you demand of yourself. Life will test you, it will challenge you, and it will push you down. But if your standards are non-negotiable, you will rise back up every time. You will not stay down because your standards will not allow it. That is the difference between those who give up and those who succeed. So ask yourself today, what have you been tolerating in your life that you should no longer accept? Where have you allowed your standards to slip? Decide now to raise the bar. Hold yourself to a higher level of discipline, courage, and consistency. Demand more from yourself than anyone else ever could. The moment you raise your standards, your life begins to transform. The higher you set the bar, the higher your results will climb. Life will not give you what you want. It will give you what you insist upon. Develop success habits, and success will follow you wherever you go. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They are the small, repeated actions you take day after day, often without thinking, and together they determine your future. The truth is, you do not decide your destiny in one dramatic moment. You decide your destiny in the little things you do consistently, in the rituals you keep, in the behaviors you repeat until they shape your identity. Success is not built on inspiration alone. It is built on discipline, on routines that keep moving you forward even when your motivation fades. Every highly successful person you admire has cultivated habits that align with their vision. They have trained themselves to do the right things, the productive things, the growth-oriented things, whether or not they feel like doing them. That is the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs wait for inspiration. Professionals act on discipline. They build habits that make success inevitable. For them, working hard, learning constantly, showing up with energy, and following through is not a matter of mood. It is simply who they are. Your habits are either moving you closer to success or pulling you further away from it. If you have the habit of procrastination, of making excuses, of seeking comfort over growth, then you are unconsciously designing a future of mediocrity. If you have the habit of setting goals, taking consistent action, learning from mistakes, and persevering through challenges, you are designing a future of achievement. It is not luck that separates people, it is habits. Because while luck comes and goes, habits create predictable outcomes. Developing success habits begins with awareness. Ask yourself, what are the small things I do every day that shape my results? Do they serve me or sabotage me? Do they build me up or tear me down? Once you identify the habits holding you back, you can replace them with habits that move you forward. Start with small changes. Success habits are rarely dramatic at first. Reading for 10 minutes a day doesn't seem life-changing. Waking up an hour earlier doesn't seem revolutionary. Saving a small percentage of your income doesn't seem like a breakthrough. But over time, these simple, consistent habits accumulate into massive results. Think of habits as compound interest for your life. Just as money invested grows exponentially, the little actions you repeat grow into enormous outcomes. The difference between an extraordinary life and an average one is not one giant leap. It is a series of small steps taken consistently over time. Success is the reward of those who discipline themselves to do the right things every day, no matter how insignificant they may seem in the moment. The real power of success habits lies in identity. Every time you follow through on a positive habit, you reinforce the belief that you are the kind of person who lives at a higher standard. When you write daily, you become a writer. When you train daily, you become an athlete. When you learn daily, you become a leader. The habit shapes the identity, and the identity shapes the destiny. This is why building the right habits is far more powerful than setting goals without action. Goals give you direction, but habits give you progress. In the end, success is nothing more than a series of successful habits stacked on top of each other. The world does not reward what you occasionally do. It rewards what you consistently do. If you want to be successful, you must act successful long before the results show up. Discipline yourself to create routines of growth, productivity, and excellence. The sooner you build habits that align with your highest vision, the sooner success becomes not a possibility, but a certainty. Take full responsibility, and you take full control of your life. This is the turning point for anyone who truly wants to attract success. Most people drift through life blaming circumstances, blaming other people, blaming the economy, blaming their past. They live as if their destiny is in the hands of someone else. But the moment you accept complete responsibility for everything in your life, the good, the bad, the progress, the setbacks, you step into true power. Responsibility is the gateway to freedom. When you own your results, you also own the ability to change them. Successful people do not waste energy pointing fingers or making excuses. They understand that every time they blame, they surrender control. Excuses may feel comforting in the short term, but they are poison to long-term growth. They give away your power, because if someone else is at fault, then someone else must change before your life improves. Responsibility shifts the focus back where it belongs, to you. When you say, "I am responsible," you are also saying, "I have the power to change, to act, to improve." That simple mindset shift separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Taking responsibility does not mean you control everything that happens to you. Life will always deliver surprises, some of them painful and unfair. But responsibility means you control how you respond to those circumstances. You control your attitude, your effort, and your choices. Two people can face the same setback. One will crumble because they believe they are a victim, while the other will rise because they accept responsibility for how they respond. That difference in attitude creates a difference in destiny. When you take full responsibility, you stop waiting for external conditions to be perfect. You stop saying, "I'll succeed when the economy improves," or "I'll try once someone supports me," or "I'll wait until I feel ready." You realize that waiting is another form of avoidance. Instead, you ask yourself, "What can I do right now, with what I have, to move forward?" That mindset breeds progress. Responsibility creates momentum because it forces you to focus on solutions instead of problems. One of the greatest habits of highly successful people is that they internalize ownership. If a project fails, they don't waste time blaming the team or external factors. They ask, "What could I have done differently? How can I ensure this doesn't happen again?" This attitude does not weaken them, it strengthens them. It makes them adaptable, resilient, and unstoppable. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every obstacle becomes fuel. Every setback becomes an opportunity to grow stronger. Responsibility transforms adversity into advantage. When you live with this mindset, others begin to notice. People are naturally drawn to those who take ownership because they radiate reliability and strength. Leaders are chosen not because they avoid mistakes, but because they take responsibility for them. Opportunities flow to people who can be trusted to own outcomes because they prove themselves dependable in every situation. Responsibility is magnetic. It attracts respect, trust, and ultimately success. The truth is, responsibility and excuses cannot coexist. The moment you choose one, you eliminate the other. If you want success, you must ruthlessly eliminate excuses from your vocabulary. Words like, "I can't," "It's not fair," and "It's not my fault" must be replaced with "I will," "I'll find a way," and "I am responsible." This change in language rewires your thinking. Over time, it becomes your identity. You no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances, but as the architect of your future. From this place of full responsibility, success becomes inevitable. You will face obstacles, yes. You will make mistakes, yes. But you will never be powerless again. You will know that, no matter what happens, you have the ability to act, to grow, and to keep moving forward. Responsibility puts your future back in your own hands. And once you hold it there, nothing can stop you. Live as your future self now, and you will accelerate the arrival of the life you desire. Most people make the mistake of postponing their transformation. They say, when I'm successful, then I'll think differently, then I'll act differently, then I'll discipline myself. But this mindset guarantees that success will always stay in the future. The truth is that success doesn't come after you change. It comes because you change. The secret is to step into the identity of your future self before the results appear. You must act like the person you want to become long before the world recognizes you as such. Every goal you dream about requires a certain kind of person to achieve it. If you want financial freedom, you must become disciplined with money today, not tomorrow. If you want to be a leader, you must begin to think and act like one before anyone calls you a leader. If you want health and vitality, you must make the choices of a healthy person in this very moment. Success is not waiting for you somewhere down the road. It is shaped by the daily actions and attitudes you choose right now. The faster you align your current self with your future vision, the faster that vision becomes reality. This principle works because of identity. Your actions are a reflection of how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, who lacks, who is average, your actions will match that belief. But if you begin to adopt the identity of your future self, the successful, disciplined, confident version of you, your actions will naturally shift to align with that identity. You will make better decisions not because you force yourself to, but because that is simply what your new identity demands. Identity is the strongest driver of behavior, and when you choose to live as your future self, you reprogram your behavior at its core. Imagine two people with the same dream of running a marathon. One says, "I'm trying to become a runner." The other says, "I am a runner." Which one do you think trains more consistently? The second person does, because their identity already matches the outcome they want. When you see yourself as the person you wish to become, every choice you make begins to reflect that vision. This is how you close the gap between where you are and where you want to be, not by waiting, but by living as if you are already there. It requires courage to live this way, because in the beginning, the external world does not yet reflect your inner transformation. You may not have the money, the title, the recognition, or the visible success yet. But the inner decision to embody your future self is what creates the outer results. Every great achiever started long before anyone else believed in them. They carried themselves with confidence before they had proof. They acted with discipline before rewards arrived. They lived as their future selves until reality caught up. Living as your future self now also means raising your standards of behavior. You ask yourself in every situation, what would the person I want to become do right now? If your future self is fit and energetic, then today you choose exercise over laziness. If your future self is wealthy and disciplined, then today you save and invest rather than waste. If your future self is a respected leader, then today you listen, inspire, and lead by example. Each decision is a vote for your future identity. Over time, those votes add up, and soon the gap between your present and your vision disappears. The world will eventually reward you for who you become. But first, you must reward yourself by living in alignment with your highest vision, even before it feels real. When you act like your future self now, you collapse time. You bring tomorrow's success into today's actions. And the more consistently you live this way, the sooner your external reality will reflect the identity you've already claimed within yourself. Consistency attracts opportunity, and it is one of the most underrated forces behind lasting success. The world does not reward those who show up once in a while, who work hard only when they feel like it, or who give their best effort occasionally. It rewards those who show up every single day, regardless of mood, obstacles, or distraction. Consistency creates reliability, and reliability creates trust. When you are consistent, people notice. Opportunities notice. Success notices. Many people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. They start with enthusiasm, but they stop when things get hard. They push forward for a week, a month, maybe even a year, but then they give in to discouragement or boredom. Success, however, belongs to those who refuse to stop. The consistent person may not be the most gifted, but they are the most dependable. They are the ones who keep planting seeds day after day until eventually the harvest arrives. Consistency compounds over time. One workout does not make you fit, but working out regularly transforms your body. One day of reading will not change your mind, but reading every day reshapes your thinking and broadens your perspective. One act of discipline will not change your destiny, but daily discipline builds a life of excellence. Small actions, when repeated consistently, create monumental results. It is not intensity alone that creates success. It is intensity sustained through consistency. Opportunities are attracted to those who prove they can be counted on. Employers trust the consistent employee who delivers results week after week. Clients trust the professional who shows up with quality every time, not just when it's convenient. Leaders emerge not because of one bold act, but because they consistently demonstrate courage, vision, and responsibility. The more consistent you are, the more doors open, because people and circumstances naturally flow toward reliability. Consistency also builds momentum. At first, it may feel like your efforts are producing little change. You may wonder if your persistence is worth it. But over time, consistency shifts from being an effort to being a habit, and habits become unstoppable. The momentum you build carries you through challenges that would have defeated you in the beginning. What once required discipline eventually becomes your new normal. Consistency turns difficult tasks into routine and routine into mastery. The challenge for most people is impatience. They want results now. When results don't come quickly, they abandon their efforts, never realizing that consistency was the missing ingredient. Success rarely arrives in giant leaps. It arrives quietly, slowly, through the compound effect of daily effort. The person who commits to showing up every day, even without immediate rewards, eventually achieves breakthroughs that the inconsistent person will never experience. Consistency is also a signal to yourself. Every time you follow through, you prove to your own mind that you are serious, that your word means something, that you can trust yourself. This builds confidence and self-respect, which are essential for success. When you keep the promises you make to yourself consistently, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop identifying as someone who quits and start identifying as someone who follows through. That identity shift alone attracts opportunities because you begin to carry yourself with a new level of confidence and authority. The truth is, anyone can be consistent for a day. The rare individuals who are consistent for years are the ones who stand out and rise above. The marketplace rewards persistence. Life rewards endurance. Opportunity is drawn to the person who keeps showing up, who keeps delivering, who keeps improving. In the end, consistency is the bridge between goals and achievements, between dreams and reality. It is not glamorous, it is not always exciting, but it is always powerful. Show up long enough and success will have no choice but to show up with you. At the end of it all, the message is clear. Success is not a mystery, and it is not reserved for a chosen few. Success is a natural consequence of who you decide to become. When you commit to attracting success instead of chasing it, when you raise your standards, build powerful habits, take full responsibility, live as your future self, and show up with relentless consistency, success becomes inevitable. Every principle we've explored is within your control. No one else can set your standards for you. No one else can build your habits. No one else can live your future life today. You alone hold that power. Life is always responding to the person you are becoming. If you choose to grow, discipline yourself, and stay committed to your vision, you will not need to chase opportunities, recognition, or wealth. They will chase you. Decide today to step into the highest version of yourself and live by these principles with courage and conviction. Because the moment you do, you stop waiting for success to arrive and you begin to embody it. And when you embody success, the world cannot help but reflect it back to you.